I want you to just picture something for a second. Imagine a creature swimming in the ocean, but, well, it has the long, elegant face of a horse.
Okay, I can picture that.
Now, give that creature a pouch on its belly, one that's like completely identical in function to a kangaroo's.
Right, a kangaroo pouch on a fish.
Exactly. And imagine it can change its skin color in a split second, much like a chameleon. It has these independently swiveling eyes, scanning its surroundings like a lizard. And instead of scales, it is covered from head to tail in interlocking bony armor, kind of like an armadillo.
When you lay it all out like that, I mean, it sounds like something pulled straight out of a mythological bestiary, like a chimera that shouldn't actually exist in nature.
Right. It sounds like a complete biological Frankenstein. But it is not a myth. It's a very real fish. We are, of course, talking about the seahorse.
The one and only.
So welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to pull from a really fascinating stack of sources to completely deconstruct this ocean oddity. We've got marine biology research from the University of Sydney, genetic studies from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and some incredible ecological field notes.
It's a great stack of research.
Yeah, and we are going to figure out exactly how it perfectly adapted to its environment, which, is ultimately going to lead us to a breakdown of its most famously bizarre trait.
Which is male pregnancy.
Exactly.
But I think it's important to frame this properly right from the start. The seahorse isn't just some quirky little ocean novelty to put on a T-shirt.
Right.
When you look at the underlying biology, this animal provides an absolute masterclass in a club called convergent evolution. This is really a story about how life solves complex problems.
Well, let's start right there with the exterior, because to really understand the seahorse, we first have to look at how its body seems to be this ultimate greatest hits compilation of the animal kingdom. What does convergent evolution actually mean in the context of this specific fish?
So convergent evolution occurs when totally unrelated animals independently arrive at the exact same biological solution for a similar environmental problem.
Okay.
So a seahorse doesn't share traits with a mammal or a reptile because of some recent common ancestor. They share them because nature essentially stumbled upon the same winning formula twice. The blueprint just works.
So it's kind of like nature using open source code. It finds a piece of software that works really well for one program and just drops it into a completely different one.
That is a fantastic way to look at it, yeah. Let's look at the short-snouted seahorse as a prime example of this borrowed code. Marine biologists have documented that they have these dark, contrasting tear marks running down their faces.
Wait, like the tear marks you see on a cheetah?
The exact same design. And it serves the exact same purpose. I mean, for a cheetah on the savanna, those dark lines absorb sunlight to reduce glare, and they break up the visual outline of the face to hide the eyes from prey.
Oh, wow.
And the seahorse faces the same problem in the shallow, sunlit waters of the ocean, so it evolved the identical mechanism.
That's wild. And it goes beyond just the big caps. So, like, you look at their eyes and they have that very distinct reptilian movement.
Yeah, that's the chameleon element. Seahorses have evolved independent eye movement.
Which is so unsettling to watch.
It is. But the neurological wiring allows one eye to look forward, locking onto a tiny crustacean, while the other eye is simultaneously swiveling backward to scan for a predatory crab.
So it provides them with true 360-degree vision.
Exactly. Meaning they can actively hunt and play defense at the exact same time without ever moving their head.
Which is crucial because they also have this highly specialized tail. I mean, you don't usually see fish wrapping their tails around things, but the seahorse has a fully prehensile tail, which immediately brings to mind New World monkeys in the forest canopy.
And that tail is an absolute engineering marvel. A monkey uses its tail to grip branches. The seahorse uses its tail to anchor itself to seagrass or coral in strong ocean currents.
Right.
But a fish tail isn't naturally built for gripping. So the seahorse tail evolved into a structure made of about 100 or so interlocking bony plates. It is almost entirely crush-resistant.
So they basically built an industrial-strength monkey tail out of armadillo armor.
Essentially, yes. Most fish rely on a layer of flexible scales, but seahorses lack scales entirely.
Wait, really? No scales at all?
None. They rely entirely on a flexible exoskeleton of bony plates for armor. And while they are anchored with that armored tail, they stand completely vertical in the water.
Which is such a strange posture to see underwater.
It's incredibly rare for a fish. But think about animals that need to scan the horizon. Meerkats, prairie dogs, kangaroos, they all stand vertically to maximize their field of view. The seahorse is doing the same thing.
Okay, so we have this creature utilizing cheetah tear marks chameleon eyes, a prehensile monkey tail, and armadillo armor, all while standing vertically like a meerkat.
Yeah, the ultimate mashup.
Right. But here is where I struggle with the physics of this design. If they evolved to be this perfect vertical armored predator with 360-degree vision, why are they such notoriously terrible swimmers?
That is the big question.
Because everything I've read indicates they are incredibly slow. Isn't being able to move a basic requirement for an aquatic predator?
Well, you're assuming they hunt by chasing. But if we look at the evolutionary history, seahorses actually evolved from straight-bodied pipefish. As their ancestors started spending more time in dense seagrass, their tails became more prehensile for gripping.
Okay, that makes sense.
But once you anchor yourself, your body needs a way to look around without detaching. To solve this, the seahorse evolved a true neck.
Right, which fish generally do not have. Their heads are usually fused rigidly to their torsos.
Exactly. Having that true articulating neck allowed them to sit vertically and remain perfectly motionless while looking around.
Yeah.
They don't need to be fast because they don't chase their food. They're the ultimate stealthy ambush predators. They simply wait for the food to come to them.
But sitting completely still creates a whole new problem, though. I mean, if you refuse to lunge or swim after your food, how do you actually catch it when it floats by?
This brings us to the internal mechanics. When you transition from a chasing predator to an ambush predator, your mouth has to evolve completely differently.
And the seahorse mouth is wild. I was reading the field notes, and the snout is long and narrow, but the bone structure underneath actually expands outward, kind of like an accordion or a concertina.
It's a very specialized mechanism.
Right, so when a tiny shrimp gets close, a trigger-like mechanism in their jaw fires. The biological field notes describe the action as being similar to grabbing a paper bag and snapping it open at high speed.
Yeah, that sudden expansion displaces the water so violently that it creates a massive vacuum. It relies on the sheer kinetic force of that suction to pull in prey.
It's basically a high-speed liquidizer because, and this is something that really caught my attention in the sources, they don't have teeth.
No teeth at all. They can't chew their prey.
Yeah.
The food is basically demolished by the sheer pressure of being sucked into that expanding snout.
But the lack of teeth isn't even the most mind-boggling part of their internal plumbing. They swallow this food, but they do not have a stomach.
No true stomach, right? Which seems so counterintuitive for an animal that spends all day waiting for a meal.
It's a highly inefficient digestive tract. If we think about a mammalian stomach, it's this muscular bag of acid that breaks things down. The seahorse just has this biological straight pipe exhaust system.
That's a great way to describe it.
The food gets mashed up by the vacuum process, enters the digestive tract, and just goes straight through. And because it's essentially a straight pipe, researchers have actually observed live, hard-shelled shrimp passing entirely through the seahorse, like shooting out the back end totally undigested and just swimming away.
I know, it's crazy. Nature engineered this flawless high-speed vacuum trap for a mouth and then seemingly compromised on the digestion system right behind it.
That feels like a massive design flaw. If your digestion is so terrible that your dinner regularly survives being eaten, how do these creatures not starve to death?
It comes down to sheer volume. The trade-off for this inefficiency is that it forces the seahorse to be a nonstop eating machine.
Just constantly eating.
Exactly. A baby seahorse, which is called a fry, has to consume up to 3,000 individual particles of plankton every 24 hours just to survive.
3,000 a day. That is exhausting just to think about.
And it's not even a passive process. Because they lack the complex, smooth muscle contractions of a true stomach, the involuntary squeezing that moves food through our own intestines, they have to help the food along manually.
Wait, what do you mean manually?
If you watch them closely, you will literally see seahorses swaying their entire bodies side to side in the ocean current. They are manually maneuvering the food down their own digestive tracts.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's review the situation here. We have a fish that is a terrible swimmer that has to anchor itself in one spot, that has no stomach, and therefore has to eat thousands of times a day while visibly swaying just to digest its food.
Yeah, it's quite the visual.
That makes them incredibly vulnerable. If they are anchored to a piece of seagrass, desperately trying to suck up plankton, they are sitting ducks for any larger predator.
They absolutely are. Because fleeing is completely off the table. Hiding becomes their only viable defense mechanism. They had to become the ultimate masters of disguise.
And it is not just basic camouflage. We touched on their chameleon-like eyes, but their color isn't fixed either. Their skin contains these highly specialized cells called chromatophores.
Right. And those chromatophores allow them to change color based on a multitude of factors, their diet, their surrounding environment, and even their mood.
Yeah, I read that if a seahorse is under extreme stress, it might turn a dark, almost black color.
Exactly. But the opposite happens during courtship. The visual displays are incredible. When a male is trying to impress a female, he will literally light up in these brilliant, vibrant colors.
And at the same time, he flutters his dorsal fins at an insane rate, right? Something like 35 to 70 beats per second.
Yes, but their survival camouflage goes far beyond just shifting pigments in the skin. They don't just change color. They actively cultivate camouflage.
This is the part that blew my mind. They literally grow live filamentous algae directly on their skin.
They really do. They curate a miniature garden on their own bodies to perfectly blend in with the surrounding plant life.
I try to put that in human terms to understand the scale of it. If I wear a camo jacket in the woods, I'm hiding. But if I glue actual leaves to my skin and stand perfectly still for my entire life, that is next level commitment.
It's an extreme level of environmental assimilation.
But how much of this is active? Like, do they consciously know what color to be, or is this just an automatic reflex?
Well, it depends on what type of change we're talking about. The base color camouflage, the slow shifting to match a patch of seagrass or growing that algae, is a slow, long-term environmental adaptation. It's not a split-second conscious decision.
Got it.
However, the emotional color changes. Turning black from stress or flashing bright colors to impress a mate, those happen in seconds. That is a real-time nervous system reflex.
That makes sense. And if we really want to talk about the extreme edge of this camouflage, we have to talk about the pygmy seahorses found in the Coral Triangle.
Oh, absolutely. They are arguably one of the most highly specialized organisms on the planet.
Specifically, the ecological field notes detail Hippocampus bargibonti, or Bargibon's pygmy seahorse. This tiny creature lives its entire adult life on one single structure, a specific type of Gorgonian coral.
And its body perfectly matches not just the pink and yellow coloration of the coral, but the actual knobby texture of it.
Yeah, they are so hyper-specialized that they actually evolved a completely different breathing apparatus. Unlike regular seahorses that have two gill openings, pygmies only have a single gill opening located on the very back of their head.
Just to fit their microhabitat perfectly. And their scale is hard to comprehend. We should mention Satomi's pygmy seahorse.
Oh, right, the record holder for the smallest.
Exactly. It's a nocturnal species, and it measures roughly 1.4 centimeters. That's about half an inch.
A living, breathing, armored predator the size of a fingernail.
Floating in the dark. And yet, despite the cheetah tear marks, the expanding vacuum mouth, the cultivated algae, and the microscopic size of the pygmies, all of those evolutionary parlor tricks pale in comparison to how they reproduce.
Oh, yeah. This is the trait that truly flips the script on nature. It is the biological marvel we've been building toward: male pregnancy.
Right. And we need to be very precise with our terms here. We often use the word pregnancy casually in the animal kingdom, like male frogs carrying eggs in their mouths. But this isn't simply carrying eggs.
This is true. Internal pregnancy.
Yes, featuring active nutrient exchange, completely supported by the male's biology.
But mammalian pregnancy requires a uterus. And male seahorses obviously don't have a uterus. So genetically speaking, how does a male body build a pregnancy structure?
The genetics behind this are fascinating. In female animals, specialized reproductive tissue forms a womb. In seahorses, genetic studies reveal that male hormones, specifically testosterone, act as a trigger.
Okay.
But they don't trigger reproductive tissue. They trigger the actual skin cells on the male's belly.
The skin itself transforms.
Yes. The skin cells physically alter to form a brood pouch. And once formed, this patch of modified skin acts exactly like a mammalian placenta. It supplies oxygen, clears waste, and actively delivers nutrients to the growing embryos, all built from external skin.
Wow. And that Chinese Academy of Sciences study revealed a stunning fact about this. Researchers took female seahorses and exposed them to testosterone, and as a result, they grew brood pouches too.
Which is a profound discovery. It means that the intricate genetic networks required for pregnancy, complete with placental functions, exist in the skin of both sexes. They are fully coated, but just sitting dormant, waiting for a male hormone to flip the switch.
That is incredible. Okay, so the male hormone triggers the skin to become a placenta. The female deposits her eggs. He fertilizes them and carries them. But eventually, those hundreds of babies have to come out.
And the mechanism for birth completely upends what we thought we knew about labor.
Right, because there was that University of Sydney study about how they actually give birth. In mammals, a hormone called oxytocin causes involuntary smooth muscle contractions. You don't consciously tell your uterus to contract.
Exactly. Naturally, researchers assumed seahorses utilized a similar autopilot system. But when they exposed the seahorse pouch tissue to the fish equivalent of oxytocin, which is called isotocin, it didn't cause contractions.
The tissue just didn't react at all.
Right, because of the seahorse pouch, being made of modified skin, contains virtually no smooth muscle. It physically lacks the cellular machinery to contract involuntarily.
So if a male seahorse cannot rely on involuntary contractions to push the babies out, how does he do it?
The researchers found that male seahorses possess 3 extra-large bones located near their anal fin. And crucially, these bones are attached to huge bands of skeletal muscle.
And skeletal muscles are voluntary, like flexing your bicep.
Exactly, which means the entire process of labor is a conscious physical effort.
Wait, so a mammalian birth is an involuntary internal process, but a seahorse giving birth is basically a guy choosing to do a massive conscious ab workout to shoot babies out of his skin.
Mechanically, yes, that is exactly what is happening. The male consciously controls the opening of his pouch. He forcefully bends his body forward, doing these intense whole-body crunches and jerks to manually flush seawater in, and then blasts the water back out, carrying hundreds of babies into the ocean.
Just blasting hundreds of babies out at once, why not release them slowly?
It's a defensive strategy to confuse predators. By launching them all at once, the male creates a sudden, overwhelming cloud. The hope is that a few of the fry drift away to safety while the predators are disoriented.
Because statistically, the odds are incredibly grim.
Very grim. Out of 1,000 babies born in that sudden cloud, maybe 3 to 5 will actually survive to adulthood, which connects to the broader picture of why this extreme role reversal exists in the first place.
It's about keeping the species alive through resource management.
Exactly. Rearing young demands a massive energetic cost. But producing the eggs also requires tremendous energy. If the female had to do both, she would be physically depleted. They wouldn't reproduce fast enough to outpace that terrible 3 in 1,000 survival rate.
So they split the bill.
Right. By splitting the biological labor, she handles the cost of making the eggs. He handles the cost of carrying and birthing them. They maximize their output.
Wow. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, the next time you feel, totally overwhelmed by having to multitask or adapt to a new environment, just think of the seahorse.
A great role model.
Seriously, we're talking about an armored, vertical swimming, algae-growing, straight-piped, pregnant male that literally glued together the best parts of the animal kingdom to survive. If the seahorse can adapt to all of that, you can probably handle whatever is sitting in your inbox today.
It really does put our human challenges into perspective. And if we look back at the source material, I want to leave the listener with a final thought to ponder.
Go for it.
We discussed how exposing a female seahorse to testosterone makes her grow a pregnancy pouch right out of her skin. What that tells us is that the blueprints for entirely different ways of living are just sitting dormant inside their DNA.
Right.
It makes you wonder what dormant genetic abilities might be hiding in our own human DNA, just waiting for the right switch to be flipped.
Wow. Could we have the code for, like, an armored exoskeleton waiting deep in our genes? I mean, probably not, but it is a fascinating thought to explore on your own. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, keep exploring the weird and wonderful world around you, and we will catch you next time.